orientation makes a big difference. So right now, or in the winter time, you've got low sun angles, so you can capture on the south elevation passive daylighting. In the next click, in the summertime, the sun's actually coming up much further, and we're wanting to actually provide shade. Well, with an orientation with an east-west axis, it's much easier to control heat gain than it is if it was turned the other direction. In the summer, you'd be getting blasted in the mornings and the evenings, overheating the house, without much opportunity for solar gain, passive solar gain in the winter. It can be upwards of a 40% difference in an energy bill just in how a home is oriented on the site. So obviously there are other things you need to take into consideration: existing trees, other buildings, maybe there are views you really want to capture, make a sacrifice. But that's free. The orientation of a home is a free choice and makes a big impact on your energy efficiency. So my mantra is build tight, ventilate right. We learned our lesson after the last energy crunch, and we buttoned up all our buildings, and then everybody got sick, sick building syndrome. We still had all the toxins and gases coming out of our finished materials, and we weren't letting it go anywhere, and we weren't bringing in fresh air. So we want to make sure we build it tight. These are infrared camera images that shows heat loss around windows and doors and poorly insulated stud bays. You can see the big difference in energy efficiency in just those two separate homes and what they did. So they're looking at reducing thermal bridging on that house. And so this is one example of an alternative insulation. It's a spray-on insulation. And they have a couple different types. Some are a foam, some are cellulose. You get a really high, dense insulation value. And it not only provides better R value, but it also blocks out the infiltration and exfiltration. So all those drafts that you get in an old home really helps cut those down. So the next one, this is an image that is showing advanced framing. So extending the studs essentially to 24 inches on center, stacking them up, uses a lot less wood, a lot less materials, and also increases the R value of a wall because the studs aren't as close together and you don't have that thermal bridging at all those elements of wood. Structural insulated panels, really high efficiency opportunities. This is like an Oreo cookie, oriented strand board, sandwiched on either side of rigid insulation. When you do blower door tests on homes, the homes built with SIP panels are about the best performing in the industry right now. They're all the panels are pre-manufactured in the factory based on your design and your specifications with all the windows and doors cut out, and it goes together. You get a building envelope that is assembled on site very quickly, so there's a lot of time savings there as well. And they're great. They integrate really well with timber framing. Either timber framing is a structural element, or you can do SIP panels with timber frame elements inside, etc. So, and again, high R values and reduced thermal bridging and that infiltration and exfiltration. I mentioned build tight. Now we need to ventilate right. So we built this really tight box. Essentially, it's a Coleman cooler, really well insulated. But we need to get fresh air in if the windows aren't open. And so using heat ventilation recovery units, it's a fan that blows exhaust air out, brings fresh air in. The two air layers never mix, but it transfers the heat. You spend a lot of money heating the house up in the winter. Why exhaust it right outside? So it transfers it to that fresh air coming back in. So some of the units are almost 95% of that energy can be transferred back through. And the higher cost heat ventilation recovery ventilators are about $3,000. So that would have a return on your investment on that in pretty short time. I think the low end are about $1,000. And then, here's your dessert. If you're going to look at renewable energy, I'd probably look at solar thermal first. And that uses sunlight to heat the water that's in your home. And with federal incentives, if you're a Clark PUD customer, there are also some incentives and grant opportunities. The return on your investment in this climate is about 7.5 years for the average home for solar thermal. And it would cut, and again, in this climate, about 50% of your hot water heating bill. Materials. We mentioned non-toxic already, but maybe we want to look at an emphasis on local manufactured product. So instead of importing some exotic stone from China, maybe there's something that's a little more local. So we're reducing the impact on the environment from shipping. We're supporting the local industry and your local economy. Look at materials with recycled content. There are some really great countertops, locally manufactured, made with recycled glass and cement. Can it be recyclable? And then durability. Obviously, we want, you're investing quite a bit in this. You want it to last a long time. So looking at that, that's probably really high on everybody else's priority list. And then maybe if it's wood products, is it responsible forestry? Where did that wood product come from? Does it have a certification? There are opportunities to specify that we want sustainably harvested wood that has one of multiple different certification types. So the question, is bamboo green? It's all the rage, bamboo floors and such. Thoughts?
It's a very renewable resource.
It's a rapidly renewable resource.
Very fast.
So it grows incredibly fast.
Usually has to be imported to China. Lose at least and be very toxic.
So the other drawback right now is we don't have any locally grown bamboo, or not much. There are some local bamboo crops that are starting to come up now, but it is mostly being imported from China. So just be careful about making all those decisions. It might seem green on the surface, but maybe it's light green. And so the next one. Water efficiency. So look at WaterSense type fixtures to save on water. And outdoors, can you avoid using irrigation? Or if you really can't, make sure you're using a smart system that's going to be just providing enough water. Maybe it has sensors and things of that nature, even soil humidity sensors to make sure it's not watering when it doesn't need to be watered, let alone tied in with climate data. There are sensors that, or controllers that can do that. It knows that there's rain coming, so don't bother turning it on.